Good evening and welcome to your first flipped lesson. Feel free to pause the video at any time and replay if you need to hear something again. Replay the entire video as many times as you need to understand. This lesson is going to be about finding the volume of cylinders. The first thing that I want you to notice is that you have a formula sheet here on the side, and I'll be providing you with a copy of this in class to put into your notebook. You can also save a picture of this. I'll upload it onto the homework website so that you can have it for reference at home, or you could take a picture of it with your phone and record it in your gallery. Alright, so we're talking about the volume of cylinders. Oatmeal is packaged in a cylindrical container with the dimensions shown in the drawing. Find the appropriate volume of this oatmeal container. So the first question is, what are we calculating? Well, the question here is volume. We're calculating the volume of this cylinder. And the next thing is, what do we need to know about finding the volume of a cylinder? And we already know what the name of this solid is. We know that it is called a cylinder because it has a circular base. Two circular bases, in fact, and they're parallel to each other. So that's something you might want to write down. It has two parallel bases. And they are the same. In this case, they are circles. Okay? So the next thing is you want to write down the formula that you would use on your paper for this actual cylinder. Now, how do we find the volume of a cylinder? I'm going to write the formula right here to the right to make sure you're ready. Volume equals big B times H. And the question that we have here is, what does that big B stand for? This big B is the area of the base. And what kind of base do we have here? Again, we've already talked about it. It's a circle. And how do we find the area of a circle? So that's one thing that we need to know. Area of circle. Oops, I can't spell today. Now, one thing you might already know is the area of a circle, but for those of you who need a refreshment, it's pi times the radius squared. And the only other thing that we need, so we have this big B here equals pi times the radius squared. The other thing that we need is the height. H equals the height. Okay? Moving on. Again, so we're talking about a cylindrical container, same problem. So which formula would you use? We've talked about that already. Just a second. Well, this is the area of a circle, pi r squared. We talked about that already. Don't forget that the radius is half of the diameter. That's extremely important because if you'll notice here, this 10 centimeters that we're talking about, that they have listed here, this is a diameter, and the diameter is the distance across the middle of the circle, and we need the radius. So how would we find the radius from 10 centimeters? If the diameter equals 10 centimeters, then the radius equals half of that diameter. So what is half of 10? Half of 10 equals 5. So that radius equals 5 centimeters. Okay, I'm going to flip to the next slide. So don't forget the radius is 5 centimeters. Okay. Now we're going to plug everything that we need into the formula. We've got this radius right here that we've already determined. The radius is 5 centimeters. The height we know is 10 centimeters. So if we're plugging everything into the formula, we have area equals big B times H. Big B is pi times the radius squared. And then we have our height. So if we're plugging everything in, the radius is 5, so we're going to keep pi. Radius is 5, and we square that times the height, and the height here is 18, and remember we're measuring in centimeters. So So our answer should have something to do with centimeters. And let's see what this looks like here. Okay, so they wrote everything out for us here. Slide it down to the bottom so that you can see where I've plugged everything in matches what they had already plugged in for us. But it's good to know how to plug it in and where it goes. So we're moving on. We're going to do some calculating. So we want to know what is the answer. So we have all of these answer choices here. I'm going to go back one slide, and we're going to calculate right over here underneath the green writing to the right. So the first thing that we need to know, we have pi, which we already know. And we're going to estimate that to be 3.14. I'm going to write that up here at the top. Pi equals 3.14, because none of our answer choices, as we noticed over here, none of them are written in terms of pi, so we need to use the decimal approximation for that. So pi times the radius, which we said was 5, squared, times the height, which is 18. So the first thing we do, order of operations, we're going to estimate this 3.14 times 5 squared is 25, and then we still have times our 18. Now, if you'd like, you can use your calculator at this point so that you can find exactly what you need. I'm going to back out of this for just a second. So we have 3.14 times 25 times 18. This is the problem we're working on now. You all know that I like to work with whole numbers first. So I'm going to open up the calculator, and we're going to say 25 times 18 equals, right, 450. And then we also know that we have to multiply that times pi. So we're going to multiply this times our approximation 3.14 equals exactly 1,413. I'm going to drag back over to our other here. 25 times 18 was 450. And then we're multiplying that times 3.14. And again, when we multiplied those two together, our answer was 1,413. 1,413. Now we need to make sure that we write our correct units, and this was measured, as we said earlier, in centimeters. So when we're measuring volume, I want you to think V3. Volume is always cubed. V to the third. Volume is always cubed. So this is going to be whatever our unit is, centimeters cubed. So this is our answer. That is the volume of that cone. So the answer then that we should choose is letter C. The volume of this cylinder is 1,413 centimeters cubed, and that is how much oatmeal that this canister will hold. If you need any more explanation on this assignment, what I would like for you to do is either watch this video again and rework this problem, or you can log into BrainPop using the username RMS2012 and the password is Warriors. You have to do this before 7 p.m. If you don't do it before 7, then you'll be locked out of being able to use BrainPop. But that's a great resource for you to use so that you can get extra help with this type of problem. I hope that this has been helpful. I would like for you to bring your notes into class first thing in the afternoon tomorrow when you come into class. That's going to be your ticket in the door. I'd like to give you a grade for the notes that you took while you were watching this video, and I want you to come prepared and ready to work to do an activity in class involving the volume of cylinders. Have a great night.